As the weather gets colder, our drinks get warmer, which means that it is the perfect time for this raspberry mocha latte. The first thing we're going to need to do for this raspberry mocha latte is make our raspberry syrup. And I love this syrup because it couldn't get easier. There's not even any cooking involved. I just take a pint of fresh raspberries, and to that I'm going to add some demerara sugar. I prefer demerara sugar over white sugar as it has a little bit more complex flavor and will add a really nice depth to our final syrup. I use a spoon to really mash those raspberries into the sugar and make sure that it's all as broken up as possible, and then I'm just going to leave it for a couple of hours. Next up, we need to make a chocolate ganache, so I use some milk chocolate chunks and add those into a bowl. Then in a small pan, I'll add some heavy whipping cream and heat this up on the stove just until it starts to bubble. You don't want it to boil, just want it to get hot. Once your cream is warm, then you can take that and pour that over top of your chocolate and let it sit for about 5 minutes or so. Come back 5 minutes later with a spatula and you'll find that cream has melted down your chocolate, and you start stirring that up until you end up with this really rich chocolate syrup. And don't worry if there's any little particles of chocolate left over, those typically disappear as it rests. The last thing we're going to need for this mocha latte is an espresso shot. So I'm using the KitchenAid super automatic espresso machine to brew our espresso shot this time, because with a single press of a button, it's going to grind, tamp, and brew your beans, giving you this perfect shot every time, and super simple. And with that brewed, we can take it back to our workbench and start preparing our final drink. Now that our raspberries have sat for a while, I strain them through a fine mesh sieve, and that's going to leave us with this beautiful raspberry syrup underneath that's super concentrated and packed full of flavor. Into a mug, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of this syrup, and to that I'm going to add in our espresso shot just to help all that syrup dissolve nicely. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of that chocolate ganache into a milk pitcher and top it up with a little bit more milk. You can either use a steam wand to do this, or pre-warm your milk and then just use a hand frother like I am here to build up that delicious milk foam that we're going to layer on top of our latte. A little swirl to make sure that cream is nicely homogenized, and we can pour that right on top of our espresso and raspberry syrup. And with that, we have our final drink. The espresso really complements that chocolate flavor, and it's almost as much of a raspberry hot chocolate as it is a mocha latte. And you can always try playing around with different types of berries and different types of chocolate. So have fun and happy brewing!